Hi, I'm Sung Ray.
I'm something else.
Here, Black Girl Soul, a podcast where we discuss the Asian dramas we love from a Black female perspective. We are looking to be entertained, to learn about other cultures, and share our passion for these shows. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. This is Black Girl Soul. I am something else with
Sung Ray.
And today we are talking about The Glory once again because it is such a meaty show and there are so many elements. Today we're going to focus on the characters, what we liked, what we didn't like, who our favorite characters were, and whose asses we didn't like. Which characters we were like, you need to go down a ditch. You can kick rocks. We never want to see you again. We don't even like the actor who played you because we hate the character so much. Anyway, we are going to spoil the hell out of it. So if you have not watched The Glory, if you're one of like the 2 people on the planet who has not watched The Glory, then walk away and come back.
Around.
Because exactly, because we are really going to talk about the top to the bottom of this show. No secrets. Sungri, you start. Let me ask you this question. Who did you like the most in this drama?
I think out of all of the characters, my favorite would have to be Kang Hyun Nam, who was played by Yoon Hae-ran, who's the sidekick friend. I really, really liked her, the one who was being battered. I really, really liked her character. I liked how she helped to bring Song Hye-kyu's character out of her shell and kind of open up a little bit. I loved even though now, mind you, let's just go ahead and state the obvious, her plotting murder, not so cool. However, I did like that she was trying to do something for her daughter to help get her daughter out of that situation and not be in the same place she was in. And I liked her dedication to the situation. Like even when Song Hye-kyo, Moon Dong-un decided to cut her off and, I'm done with you. I just liked how she kept being who she was and kept on trying her best. Her character really was like a sunshine spot for me in the story. What about you? Who was your favorite character?
The same.
I
mean, in some ways she was, yes, like you said, like Mrs. Sunshine. My favorite thing is when she said, "I'm a cheerful bitch." I was like, okay, chick. Okay, you my type of chick. But she to me had a lot of growth and it was fun to watch because when you first look at her, she's one note, right? Okay, she's a battered wife. And unlike you, I had no problem with her trying to plot his murder because I'm like, you laying hands on me and I can't just leave any kind of way. Yeah, you got to die. You got to die. Anyway, that's another story. But but I liked that she took the opportunity that was available to her because when you realize that she couldn't drive, she barely understood technology. It was like everything in her was just working her butt off and like loving on her daughter. And it was in a weird kind of way, this opportunity that allowed her to flourish, allowed her to grow. Yes, it happened because she was stalking folks, taking pictures, and engaged in like some underbelly type behavior. But I'm like, people have to grow however they need to grow. So, so I really liked her as a character. I thought she was just like the perfect sidekick. And it was just heartbreaking when she basically took the hits, literally, to save her child's life and to make everything flow. Because if she had like gotten up, punched him in the eye, or acted any differently, then the things that needed to happen to her husband wouldn't have happened the way they happened. But who is your least favorite? Let's move on to that.
I think just this is an obvious, but I got a mixture of two. I'm gonna be honest with you. I got a mixture of two. The obvious is obviously Park Yeon Jin or M Ji Yoon, who played her character. She was the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst, and like I stated on social media, she deserves Yi Jin deserves a best sang for this because when I tell you
Mm,
she acted her ass off, she acted her ass off. She
right.
did an awesome job portraying this character because I hated the character. I hated everything about her. I couldn't understand why she was still breathing by the end. Like, oh, it was terrible. I disliked this lady a lot. That character's a lot. Um, and it was because I feel like she represented so many undesirable things. The concept of being the spoiled rich bitch who gets everything she wants because she said it. Her mom always coming to back her up and making everything okay. That was terrible. The fact that she manipulated and used people completely and totally. Like, I honestly don't think she loved anybody, it appeared from what I watched. Except, and I can't even say she loved her child. Like, it was so many things that just made me go,
Mm.
this lady is trash among trash. But at any rate, she just represented all of those horrible things. And it seemed like she just kept flourishing throughout all of this until the very end. And even at the end, after being locked up, put in jail, she was still not quite fully in a place where she was saying, you know, I realize I messed up. I'm sorry, my child. Oh my God. And like, none of those things seemed to come out of her mouth. So she was the trash of the trash to me. Now, like two steps behind her because I have a special hate in my heart for pedophiles is that
Mm.
sick ass teacher with that funky ass haircut. That
Yes.
mother sucker. Ooh, I couldn't stand him.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God. Okay.
I could not. And it was simply because on top of him having that, I almost want to say superiority, but I can't tell what it was because he insinuated that Moon Dong-eun came into the school because she slept with somebody. And I'm going, how you gonna put that on her when you don't know shit about her? Then you just kept fucking with her and trying to run her, trying to be a bully in so many words. And it was, I didn't get it when at the end of the day you were a pedophile. Like, dude, go lay down. What is wrong with you? You go do what you doing and leave people alone. One, two, and get you some help. Cause what the fuck? Like, yeah, I just he was two steps behind uh what did we call her? We gave her a name, but uh
Queen bitch, queen bee bitch,
yes,
something like that.
two steps behind her for me.
But let me
So
start by,
what?
oh,
Oh, go
go
ahead.
on. Okay. That was, or do you have anything else to add?
No, I was just gonna ask you tell us who your least favorites were.
Okay. So my least favorite was the pedophile because he's a pedophile and because he was like the full flavored pedophile. Like he wasn't just like, oh, I like little kids. It was that he was a woman hater too. That's why he went
Mm.
after Dong. Am I saying her name correctly? Lord, I never can say her name right. I think that's why he hated her. She was capable. He could see that she was controlled. If she had been some dingbat chick, he'd have been comfortable. Like I think he was just like a woman hater. He couldn't handle adult women. That's why he ran after young kids. Like he was a mess. That hairstyle was a stroke of genius. I don't know who came up with that, but I was like, wow, kudos. You know, you get extra points. And the fact that the hairstyle was like almost a spin on Dong Eun's hair. It was like, okay, so is Dong Eun who you would have been if you could be a chick? Like if you liked women? Like I just knew right off the bat, okay, there was some kind of energy he was giving off. He was such a good actor that he was giving off pedophilic, is that a word? Energy from get-go. So by the time it was like clear that he was a pedophile, I was like, oh yeah. Cause he was just too weird. He was too weird, too watching, too careful, too even his smile was gross. I was like, oh, sir, what's wrong with you? And then when it
Oh,
came out, I was like, yep, that makes sense. And just to speak on Young Jen, if I'm saying her, Young Jin, if I'm saying her name correctly, the actress I think was stellar because she was dealing with a one note character in some ways. I understood that she was spoiled, she'd been catered to, but I think it was too easy to just make her like your standard psychopath they didn't add any kind of depth to her. Like why the hell she was just like that. I mean, and it's not to say that that's not typical of bullies, bullies who are mentally unsound, like pulling people who will support that craziness and they thrive under those conditions. But I wish that they had given a little bit more because they did that with everyone else. With her, it was like she was a bitch and she stayed a bitch. Like there was no like levels of bitch. She didn't like the whole time that you see this chick who was supposed to be like damn near dead coming back for you, I would stop and go, let me pay attention because this chick is doing some stuff I didn't think she'd do. I thought she was going to stay homeless. I thought she was going to stay poor. I didn't know she was going to show up in my world the way she's showing up. But Young Jin just kept on being oblivious. She kept on being a badass. Like, I was like, you're not highly defensive until she like got Dongun's mother to start doing some dirt in her place. She didn't really comfort Dongun the way that she should have initially, right? Because if it had
But
been me and I was crazy like that, I'd have gotten Dongun beat in an alleyway. Like I would have handled it.
I think the problem though is that that's the whole point. Her whole character's like, for me, she did her job amazingly well. Her whole point was, you are nothing to me. You don't deserve my attention. You don't deserve any of that. So yeah, you're coming, you're barking, you making noise, but why am I even looking at you? Because I'm over here living the dream. When her dream started to fall, that's when I think she should have been paying a little bit more attention. So like when her husband showed up at her house, that's when I think she got on the defense and then started doing stuff to fuck with Donggun. But until then, in her head, you're a nobody. What do I need to look at you for? What do I need to think about you for? That's
Yeah.
what I took from that. But go ahead.
No, no, no. I mean, I think that's completely legit. That like she was like, oh, okay, you don't matter to me. And then it's like, if I have to start paying attention to you, then that's a failure, right? Because oh, now I'm
Mm-hmm.
admitting that like you're getting me. I get all that. I mean, she was a mess. She didn't even take off her shoes when she walked into someone's house. I
Mm-mm.
was like, damn, you just an animal, ain't you? Damn. Like, cause that's so ingrained in their culture, they don't even think about it. They just do it. She just walking around with her green ass shoes. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
chick, you got to go. You got to go. Okay. So we can start from the top down, if you will, and dig into characters. What do you think about Dangun?
Okay, so Dungun was diabolical. This chick had layers to her. Like, okay, so when I think revenge, sometimes I think old school. So I'm, thinking the old school master who is plotted out and he's got his ninja assassins who go out to go fight. Okay, I'm there. So I'm like, she had her stuff so laid out, so many people. Like, to this day, I thought about this the other day. Her relationship with let me see, it was Choi Hai Jeon. That was the friend who was the stewardess.
Mm,
Her relationship with her quote unquote mother-in-law. How the hell did that happen? I
mm.
missed. Did they show us that? Did they tell us that?
I don't think they told us that.
Okay. And that's all I meant. I just was like, she had so many connections from,
Right.
oh, was it from the bathhouse? That was her and the lady
No,
who
no,
that
no.
got
That wasn't the back south. That was her. Yeah,
the
that was
woman
her
who owned the
landlady.
okay. So that's what I'm getting at. She just had so many connections with so many people from way back, or either because it was just how she moved, that those connections were able to help her as she went along and did things. So I don't know, it was, she just had, her shit was just so laid out, it was almost past amazing. Like, good God, you thought about that? Oh my goodness, you had that together. So like, yeah, she was very, very detail oriented in every step. And honestly, that's beyond commendable for somebody who, because she started this when she dropped out of high school after her mother had signed them documents. She dropped out of high school. She went back and she asked, "Oh, girl, what's your dream?" Old girl told her, and she said, "That's it. I'm coming for your dream." And she meant it. But when I tell you, just along the way, it was just wow watching how everything happened to get her to the place where she was able to make it all unfold and get to the point where she was able to crumble her whole world. So yeah, she was interested. Now I'm going to give two though. This is still I am a old Song Haikyuu fan from back in the Descendants of the Sun days,
Mm.
and back then she presented herself differently than I've seen in
Mm-hmm.
dramas since then.
Mm-hmm.
And so even at the points where she's supposed to be happy, yes, not quite there. She has continued to be deadpan for me for a lot of dramas, and it's kind of a turnoff at this point. Like all your characters can't be deadpan, less than joyous about everything. I understood why she wasn't smiling with the sidekick, Hyun Nam. I understood why she wasn't smiling with her initially, but then towards the end, when there was supposed to be a smiling, happy moment, she still looked unhappy in so many words. So like, I don't know. I just need her to come out of whatever shell has her in that space because she's been there for some years now, in my opinion. That's to me how it also plays into her character. It worked for the character for the majority of the movie, but towards the end, or drama, sorry, towards the end of the drama, it just didn't seem like it was that same old feeling of, oh, here's Song Hye Kyo with the deadpan again.
I think that's the reason why we put out a video of like a clip that we changed the subtitles on, because it's well known that she has been like stone faced, super stoic in a lot of the dramas that you'd expect her to have more emotion in, right? Emote a bit more. I would say that this is the one drama where that fits. And we kind of talked about that when we did the other the glory blurb, because it's now like almost her signature, which is very unfortunate because I know her from Full House originally, and she was always smiling. Now, mind you, it was a different time. She was a younger actress. So who's to know? Maybe she just doesn't want to be that happy-go-lucky chick in a drama, right? Like she's trying to be a serious thespian. Okay. But but towards the
Thespians
end,
know how to smile, shit.
right, right. Just like, can you put on a smile? Like, I think yeah, she can. We saw the smile for a little while, like 3 seconds, right? But I think that at the end of the series, you're looking for kind of a release because things are being finished, and the show did not give us the new version of her we wanted to see, like a happier, brighter version. You got a few more smiles. It was like she was doing like micro expressions.
Yeah.
She would look at the plastic surgeon and you could see that there was like esteem that she had for him and that he made her happy. But I also have to think about the character, right? This is us doing a deep dive into the characters. And I think that we have to acknowledge that if someone like her went through a lot of trauma and it's hard for her to trust, and she has to control her emotions or they'll burst free, and she's trying to be as strong as possible, maybe she's just not capable of like giving the whole big burst of happiness that we see with her sidekick, right? We're not going to see that. The sidekick was getting her ass beat, but she could find some happiness. She had a child. She, even talks about that. And that's what I love about this drama. The characters talk about themselves. And Hunnam, if I'm saying her name correctly, she talks about herself and she's like, twice. She talked about first, you wouldn't think I'd be a cheerful bitch, but like I am that way. And she's, meditative. And then later on, she kind of reflects again on who she is and what she can be in the future. And I think it's the same with Dong Un. I want to say that towards the end of the drama, she does talk about herself. Do you remember that? because I know she did. She kind of talks about, and I know she was talking to plastic surgeon about maybe she was doing it in conjunction with her mother and like that she was finally free or something like that. I'd have to go
Mm.
look at it again. Um, I've been watching a bunch of reaction videos to go with The Glory because I've liked it so much. And so sometimes, people say interesting things. I have to think about it again. Maybe it'll come back to me. But speaking of the plastic surgeon, what do you think about him?
Our he was an interesting character in this drama. So while he was dealing with his own past torment and traumas, he is helping her through hers, which was beyond admirable, which is also why I felt like she was just so terribly wrong for trying to cut him off and walk away. But at any rate, Yeo Yeo Jung Zhu Yeojung is the character played by Lee Do-hyun, and I think Lee Do-hyun did a very good job of portraying, because I've seen him in several things, and so I like him as an actor. We follow him on Instagram. I like the things I've seen him in and what he does. So for this character, I feel like, because usually he's not someone who's so dark. He usually is, the dramas I've seen, he's been a brighter, happier character. So seeing him play this kind of like almost a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of character is how I saw him. Is like sometimes you see him and he's, happy go lucky, he's with work, he's, talking amongst his peers or whatever. He's playing go whatever. But then you also see this dark side, and the dark side kind of
Mm-hmm.
appeared when his demons of the past were bothering him, because he had that man who was in jail who had been writing him and basically sending him these messages just to fuck with him, no other reason.
Right.
There was no motivation. There was nothing he was looking to get from it. He was just fucking with him. And so I found, like, his control in dealing with that was really, really deep to me, because I don't know. He even went to go visit the man and told him, he gave him the veiled threat. Hey, you gonna mess around and I'm gonna be sitting up in here with you, or something he said to him. I can't remember what his exact words were, but in so many words, you gonna mess around and I'm gonna be there to help make some things happen. And the man didn't catch the hint. He was telling him, I'm coming for you. You keep fucking with me, I'm coming for you, but you don't know how to stop it. So the man just kept on until he looked up, and there he was in the same facility as he was working. That was why I
Right.
told y'all earlier about part 3, because I was like, they never ever let us know how that wound up ending. But again, I'm not looking for an ending for that. I am okay with them leaving it just as it is and letting it lie. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna say, honestly, I would love a part three. Like that's where we're different.
Yeah, because
Because
no.
because I feel like Dong Un is like a super genius and her field of choice is revenge. Just the layers and levels. And I think he's like a suitable partner because she needs someone who's like a little bit more, she's so cerebral. She needs someone who's like almost a little bit more physical. Yes, she has her sidekick to do like the grunt work and heavy lifting, but he's like a suitable kind of balance for her but there is something weird about him. And that's why I wasn't sure while I was watching it initially if she was going to end up with him because he does have his very dark side. He's very like you said, it was so apropos, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, back and forth. And so I was like, is this dude gonna turn around and start cutting her? Because he seemed to be stalking her ass. Like, what's up with this?
And
And
all
then
them damn knives in that drawer, but go ahead.
man, I was like, okay, I know, you a surgeon and all, but what the what? What? But then when you get to the end and he like does the twist, you're like, oh, okay, that's some bad mama jamma type stuff. Like he knew from get-go that she was trying to use him. He
Mm-hmm.
knew what was going on. And then when they kind of talked it out, I was like, oh, that's almost sweet. Like y'all some crazy ass mofos and you found each other. Mm, mm,
Crazy
mm.
together. Yeah.
Right. So that's why I want a part three because I don't want it to be as easy as they want to make it out. Like, oh, okay, now he's working in the prison and they gonna make this. I want to see that unfold. Like that is some good shit. Like I was like, oh, look at y'all. I love you. I love you. Let's go into this prison and create some havoc. It was so cute.
Yeah, no, I'm
And
good.
I was like, oh, look at y'all. Like, you know, it would have been an American actor who would have like taken her hand and kissed her hand in the car, and then they would have gotten out and like pretend they didn't know each other as they went to commit some more revenge. I was like, oh, if only. But anyway, they you know how they don't do all that in Korean dramas. They in the Thai drama, they'd be like, let's kill them together. You know, it's just like, it's not like that. But so let's talk about the dude that everybody was in love with and everybody thought she might end up with because their chemistry is fire. Fire, I tell you. And that is like Big Papa. Oh, he's such a good
So
Big
young.
Papa. Yes, yes. Go on and talk about him.
So Do Young for me, like initially, I thought he okay, so this is 18 plus.
Yes,
I
girl.
thought he was pussy whooped. Like, I'm going, what the hell is wrong with this man? He is not able to
Mm-mm,
see this woman is crazy and she's doing crazy things, and
mm-mm.
people are telling him, and he's still saying, I'm not leaving her. I'm not divorcing her. I'm going, what the hell? So that was my initial thought, but I guess it just took him. So in my mind, I perceived him as I kept watching that he was a slower processor, which is fine because I'm a slow processor too. I understand that. Need to take my time, need to make sure things make sense before I, can go forward. Once it makes sense, I'm good, but then I start moving fast. But anyway, for him, it seemed like once he got to that part where he asked her, are you gonna go and make these apologies? And she took that paper, threw it, and like, no, what should I go apologize for? What should I be? Da, da, da. That's I think where his breaking point came, because he was trying to be the supportive husband all along, giving her all the room, letting her share her side, even though she was crying about you're not listening to my side. He gave her all of that, and she still never one time wanted to try to back excuse me, I apologize, you guys, backpedal and say I was wrong and I'm sorry. So from that point, then you start seeing him making his moves. Now that's what I think I found interesting, because obviously he was nowhere near interested in Dongan, other than I think she intrigued him for her, was it Go, the game they were playing?
Yes.
Her Go skills. Aside from that, he didn't seem like he was. Now, yes, they did have chemistry that I saw and that I felt that I thought was going to go somewhere, but the chemistry was obviously, I guess, just the whole love of Go, because he wasn't looking twice at her. He did not try to engage in conversation, try to ask her, did she need help with something? He took that little girl, packed himself up, and got up out of Dodge and came back just to take care of one other little something, and then he was good.
Yeah. Well, see, okay, so maybe I'm imbuing this character and the show with so much other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just pulling from all these other places, but I kind of feel like he's a certain type of dude, like high powered, wealthy. I think he very easily picked a woman to marry who he could put into a slot. And it's the first rule of damage control is to admit the wrongdoing and then fix that shit. And so that's why he was looking at her like, I'm going to stand by you. I don't think he was pussy whipped. I don't even think he loved her like that, because he said from get go that he only picked her because she had the shortest skirt. Like she wore the least amount of clothing. Like I think he was cold blooded like that. Like as all the stuff was coming out, he wasn't, I don't think he ever said in the whole drama that he loved her. Like it wasn't, I think he was doing what he was supposed to do because he was that kind of old school proper guy. I'm going to manage the situation. My family doesn't really divorce, like whatever it was, right? I think he was an old school dude. And it was like, this is how things work. I have this kind of family. I don't think he was looking at her to, be his like soulmate, nothing like that. When all that stuff was coming out, he was shocked by it. But I watched like a lot of the time it was like he was very controlled. And that's why I thought maybe he would end up with Dong Un because they were so similar in some ways. Like I felt like Young Jun was her counterbalance because he was different, but I felt like Dong Young was like her. He was controlled. I also thought he was kind of checking for her. I'm saying not in a very open, flourishing way, but he's like eating food at a convenience store that he don't even know about, talking to this chick. Like I think he would have low key had an affair with her and stayed married. Like I think he's cold blooded because it's the same thing. When he found out his wife had been cheating flagrantly and the kid wasn't even his, he was still going with it because that's what you're supposed to do, maybe in their social class. So that's the way I took it. I was like, I don't think he was like in love with her like that. I think he was doing what he felt he was supposed to do. Now, he's one of those characters. I'm totally filling in the blank here, right? Because we didn't completely get a lot about him. But
Mm-hmm.
he's cold-blooded enough to kill some dude at the
Mm-hmm.
end. That's what I'm saying. Like this guy who like he was a man's man. I think there was something about him because he didn't like compared to Jay June, who we could talk about, colorblind. Colorblind was crazy, but Dong Yun was controlled.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I said
Oh,
initially, I didn't say I thought that that was his whole character, but initially, that's
right.
what I perceived him to be.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I think he gave as much room as he could, and then he was like, "No, I gotta protect myself and my kid." And that is like some commendable craziness in and of itself. That he so loved that little girl that he was like, "I'm keeping my daughter." Like, and I didn't know if it was a function of I'm not gonna be embarrassed in these streets, so I'm gonna like say she's mine. But I call him Big Papa because that scene at the end where he gets her from the baseball field, I was like, dude, you just got some women shaking their ovaries over you right now. He's such a good dad. He so loved his little girl that he was like, uh-uh, all these people are crazy. I got you. I'm going to protect you, even if I have to kill your biological father. Damn. But he handled business. Anything to add before we move on?
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I feel like with him also, in terms of the daughter, like regardless of the biology, that's one of the things. Parenting is a kind of touchy subject depending on who you are or what situation you've been placed in. If you've raised somebody and he raised her from her birth all the way, that's his child.
Right.
The biological didn't matter at that point. At this point, I've raised you, I loved you, I know you, you are mine. I just happened to notice some stuff and realize, oh shit, you literally are not, but I love you regardless. So yeah, I'm gonna take care of you and I'm gonna make sure everything is all right so that you don't wind up like these two crazy motherfuckers that parented you.
Right. Right.
So he, in my mind, that was beyond commendable, notable, and yeah, because that was his child. He was making sure his child was good. She carried his name, and even as the man told um Jejun, what you call colorblind, even
Mm-hmm.
as they told Jejun, you have no legal standing. You are not,
Right.
even if the only way he said was if they divorced, and even in the divorce, he would have to deal with custody because if oh God decided he wanted to have custody, he could still pull that card even despite the biology because he had raised her and she was on his family registry. So
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, that was dad. And colorblind was just doing too much and trying to insert himself where he really couldn't fit. He was the square trying to be in a circle peg.
Right. Um, I want to say before we get to colorblind, like, what did you think about that scene with Jung Jin when she's in prison and they're like, it's time to do the news, and she straight up goes into crazy land, full force, like full tilt,
I
full
felt
lean in
like
into
she was
crazy.
110% getting the karma she deserved. She fucked with people and it was coming back to her.
Yeah, it was just interesting that the route they were gonna take was to
Have
make
her
her
do the
full on
news.
well, no, was to take her full on crazy. Like there was a place where she could have been angry and pissed off and mad, but in prison, right? But like to make her crazy, like she went off the deep end, that was interesting. And then you see her like kind of shaky and doing
I was
the
about to
news.
say, I don't necessarily think that she went crazy. I
Oh girl.
personally, from what I saw was somebody who had been bullied, somebody who had been done the same fucking way she had done everybody else. And they had bullied her to the point where she realized if she didn't get up and get the news done the way they wanted to see it done, quote unquote, it was going to be a problem. They were going to kick her ass or whatever was going to happen. So she jumped her ass up and jumped into her mode. What made you say crazy?
Because when they told her to do it, she got up, right?
Hmm.
But then she got hyped. Like she
Because that
was
was what
really
they told
doing it.
her.
No, chick. She
Yes, they
got
did.
real.
Because didn't you hear what the woman said at the end? Our news anchor has something she said about the way she was saying the news lately. Because that was probably one of in my I'm telling you, just me personal from what I watched, I perceived that as they had kicked her ass to do it the way they wanted it. You're not gonna get up and just go, oh, it's raining outside. Do it with some more emphasis. And she being the person that she is, she probably had to be broken in. I mean, it's terrible to say it this way, but I'm just keeping it 100. She had to be broken to get to that point because of who she was from beginning. We just talked about how she was unbending, unyielding, unwilling, even as she's watching her life fall apart before her eyes. She was unwilling to simply say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, please forgive me. If she was that seriously stuck in her mind about her placement and where she thought she was supposed to be, she had to be broken. Them bitches in that jail broke her ass. They kicked
Right.
her
But
ass. They fucked her up enough that she got to that space where, yes, she appears to be a little off, but this is me knowing if I don't do it this way, I'm going to get fucked up again and I'm not trying to. So let me just jump in the character that they want.
but yes, no, I agree with you that they bullied her and that they were like, "Hey, do it." But shit, to watch that scene, and maybe I'm speaking to the actress and not the role, to see that actress like jump into that level of hyper whatever, and you could see the tears shaking in her
Mm-hmm.
eye. It was girl. That's when I agreed. Yeah, that's award worthy right
Yeah,
there.
ma'am.
The
Yeah,
rest of
ma'am.
the stuff, I was like, okay, you an asshole. But like when she got to that one part, I was like, wow. I didn't think that she got to that crazy just on general, but it's interesting. Like that is what her real fate was to like, I guess the reason is the bullying, right? But to get to this crazy space that she's just like, girl, it was like interesting to see. I was like, wow, okay, ma'am, skills. But let's talk about
Jason.
yeah, colorblind.
So
Um
go ahead. Did you want to start?
Yeah, I was just gonna start in that. I'm looking forward to what you have to say because with the bullies, they were very one note to me also. I mean, they all had their little things here and there, but I think that as actors, they were serviceable, and as characters, um, I don't know. I mean, they made him crazy from get-go, like they did with young Jin, but other than having to deal with being colorblind, I didn't understand why he was like that. Like it didn't make sense. What do you think?
I don't think, now this is just me. I don't think for any of them are we ever going to have a why are you like this? Because honestly, some of it is just a symptom of you having traumas that have led you down this path, or and then for some you are just that is in your nature. There's no explainable, oh, someone beat me when I was a kid, or oh, this happened. No. Like, so for him, I wasn't even looking for that. For him, I think more than anything, I realized he truly loved Hyojin.
Mm,
Yeonjin, why he loved her, couldn't tell you, but he did. He loved her. He thought they were eventually going to be together. All those other women, including their friend Hajeon, it was like all of them were just passing time for him until the two of them could make it work and be together. And even though she had lied about being pregnant, having his child, never telling him about it, he still was okay with that until he realized she wasn't going to be with him. And then after that, he was done. It was like, I'm going to figure out how to do this myself, because he wanted to try to be, now he wanted to be super dad. Um, but as far as being a bully and the shit he did as a bully, yeah, that I wasn't looking for explanations for, or even reasons why. He was just an asshole and it was what it was. But I think on the other side, just trying to see his the way he moved as an adult and the stuff he did as an adult was kind of wild. And then he was even willing to toy with Jun and make her a surrogate mom once he realized he
Right.
couldn't fuck with Jin. I was like, dude, are you
That
serious?
was that was some crazy, 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 crazy type shit. I was like,
Oh.
but no, one of the pivotal scenes between Yo Jin and Jae Jun was when they were standing like at the front of some building, like some tall, like maybe a hotel or something like that. And he was like, "What do you love him? No, this is what love is." And then all of a sudden she was like, "I think I do love him." And he was like, you could see on his face, he was like, "Damn, this
Mm-hmm.
bitch is just realizing that she loves this dude and it's real, at least for her, because
Right.
she's crazy." And I was like, dude, why'd you even say that? She wouldn't have known that she loved him if you hadn't been pushy about it. It was just weird. It was weird and funny. It was a hilarious scene to me. Um, and if I were trying to dig deeper into the character, trying to like make some stuff add up, I would wonder if like him being colorblind was some kind of like defect that undermined his confidence because he was rich, good looking. And it's weird that like Yojin didn't marry him, considering the class they were of this a similar class. I mean, he was inheriting so much from his family. And it was just weird that like she didn't choose him. So um I don't know. But let's talk about Hai Jion. I'm saying her name badly because she was the most interesting of the gang, of the bully gang, as far as I was concerned. You might disagree. What do you think about her?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I didn't think she was. I think she was the one, in my personal opinion, who I found the sorriest. The
Mm-hmm.
reason I found her the sorriest was because she didn't belong. She didn't fit. She worked so hard to push herself into this I'm like them by buying fake knockoffs and doing the stuff she was doing, trying to marry up. Like all of what she did was in this attempt to be what she wasn't. And at the end of the day, it killed her. Like, not literally, but it killed her because you trying to marry into this family where you're lying to the people. They don't know anything about you or what you really do. You are trying to move in and make yourself be in a relationship with Jejun when really he didn't care about you, didn't want you until it was beneficial to him. You disrespected Myung Oh, which was Kim Gung Woo one, the one who died. You
Mm-hmm.
disrespected him and talked trash about Kim Dong Woo. I'm sorry, I thought it was an N at the end. Kim Dong Woo, but you disrespected him and talked about him because you thought he was less than, and so in your mind it was okay. You were content with trying to trash talk Dongun because oh, she's not like me, or I'm not like her, I'm better than her, in so many words. You like, and everything about her, she was just sorry to me. And so her character I wasn't really feeling among the bullies. Like, none of them was I feeling, but her character the least, because I just hate that concept of you willing to push others down and be in these spaces simply because you're trying to make yourself look good, as opposed to being content with who you are. Like, I'm a big proponent for people just being okay with themselves.
Well,
But that's just me. So go ahead.
I think that Ha Jung and Myung Oh were kind of the Tweedledee, Tweedledum male female counterpart. Like they were two sides of the same thirsty coin. Like they're both like underlings for the gang. They were both poor. they both put on airs in different ways. And so with her, she's a little bit worse than he is because of her sheer thirstiness for
Hmm.
Jay June. There was that one scene where he kind of threw her a bone. He was nice to her a little bit. And you could see the thirst on her face when she was like sitting next to him, just tilting her, trying to fix her hair and stuff, trying to look good in front of him. I was like, and
Hmm.
she completely threw over the gangster guy like he was a bird in the hand. The gangster guy had money. The mama didn't like her, but she could have done all right. And she completely threw that dude over for Jay June. I'm like, no, not his crazy ass. Like, he ain't really gonna choose you, chick. You stupid. So I think she was just like a little bit thirstier. I think Myung Oh, I'm saying it badly. Um, I think he was like, I think he just kind of given up. I think he wasn't even trying. He was just like the gopher, and he was just doing his little part. And every once in a while, he would be able to sneak something, some kind of perk. Oh, okay, I get to drive Yo Jin's car. I mean, Jay June's car. I can maybe wear a piece of his clothing or do, he was more of a traditional gopher. Was there anything about him that stood out to you other than like towards the end he was like irreverent, and I appreciated that for him. He got him killed, but he was gonna die anyway. Was there anything about him that you liked?
I think the one thing that for him that stood out for me was that he was willing because he knew shit. He had same kind of information that Hai Jiong had, and this is where I separated the two of them. Because you're correct, they were similar, but where I separated the two of them was that he was willing prior to Dong Un approaching him. I think she just happened to see it in him and was like, "Oh, this is my person I could use," based upon the information she had gathered. He was already seeing shit and trying to kind of compile some things. No, it wasn't solid information, and no, it wasn't going to get him far, but he
Mm-mm.
was already there. The other one, she had to break her to get her there. She had to break her by telling her, "Oh, I'll tell you, let her see, I know your future mother in law, and I could share all your dirt if you want me to." Like she had to put some fear in her. For him, he was already there. He was already tired of their shit. He was already tired of seeing them continue to be assholes to everybody and was wanting to make some changes. Now, what I do have a problem with though, and I guess for me, they did talk about it, but I don't think it was fully kind of fleshed out. Now, again, I know that at the end of the day, Myung, no, getting ready to call her the wrong name. Haikyuu's character, Dong-un, I think Dong-un was going to take him out regardless. Like he wasn't going
Mm-hmm.
to just stay acting like he wasn't. It was just going to go the way he wanted it. It was going to be some other shit to happen because him raping her, because that's what we gonna call it, what it was. Him raping her and then acting like it was all okay and cool throughout their teenage years never was truly like dealt with or talked about. They mentioned it in some respect, but I can't remember what, and I know it wasn't too. Was it that
Did he rape her or did he rape the woman who worked at the store?
he probably did both of them because he
Oh,
did her
jeez.
because remember when she was a child, she remembered that tattoo. He had leaned over and said something about, "I know you liked it when I whatever," and that's why
Mm,
she says she knew what that tattoo was and knew what it meant and she could
right,
identify his body.
right.
I'm saying, if he didn't rape her, he molested her. He did something to her sexually that was inappropriate, that she didn't like, that she didn't want. It was unconsented touch. Yes, he also did the worker at the that's why she went on ahead and knocked him all the way off, the worker at the clothing store. But the other chick that was murdered by
Yes, the first one.
Jin, yeah, I don't remember what her name was.
Right. I forgot her name too.
Yesu? Was it Yesu?
Girl, I can't. It's
Nah,
not Yes Soul because
I
that's the
see.
daughter.
That's the daughter. So I'm not sure. Whatever that girl's name was that was murdered by Jin, hit her. He loved her. Why he loved her is what is beyond me because I'm going to myself, if you did her the same way you did Mong Dong-un, then was that your
Girl.
mentalness thinking that y'all were like she was going to
Girl.
eventually come to you? Like, I don't know, but that was a weird twist for me because he was ready to move mountains once he found out old girl killed him. Then he was ready to lay it all on the line, say anything he needed to say. And like you said, that's what got him killed. But I was like, wow, how did you love somebody that you participated in the bullying of? And if you bullied her the same way you bullied Dong-un, then sir, she didn't like you. You was in fantasy land totally. Like, what was that? I don't know.
Well, okay, so this is where I'm gonna like, with no psychology degree, I'm gonna like take a super, super big leap because I have a wonderful imagination, as Song Ray knows. I think that he conflated being able to overpower her with being in love with her.
Ah,
The way that you see like some of these dudes who are beating up their girlfriends, I'm in love with you. I really love her. They believe that shit. They believe it because they enjoy the feeling they have when they can beat her ass or they can control her. So yeah, he felt like he was in love with her, especially if he was able to do that. And he was doing it in a time when everyone was shitting on him, right?
true.
And then here's someone he could shit on. She was all his little doll to shit on. And then that doll is taken away. Like, because he had a fractured relationship with all the women. Every single woman there, he would have tried to get with.
Oh, honey, no, no, no. Of the women there, aside from I think Yojin, I'm not even 100% sure about Haejeon, because he remember at one point he quote unquote confessed to her and said he loved her or some shit.
Right,
He had oral relations with, we gonna get into Sarah
right.
because oh gosh, we got to get into her crazy ass.
Yes,
But he has oral sexual relations with her. He has sexual relations with Donggun. I think him and Hai Jeong did. I'm not 100% sure. The only one I don't think it ever happened with was Yojin.
right. I think that because when he would always be extra flirtatious and pushy with Hyjone, but nothing came of it because she was saving herself for crazy eyes for colorblind. Uh so but he I think had a weird relationship with women. When he started dealing with Dong-un as they were plotting and planning up to a point, um, he was extra flirtatious with her too. Like he didn't have a boundary. Like I used to bully her. She ain't checking for me, like you said. I think there's something a screw loose for him too. So so but let us talk about chick. Let's talk about Issa Rae because she was something else.
Ma'am, when I tell you, first of all, she was already just high strung, over the top, do too much.
Mm-hmm.
They introduced us and let us know she's a drug user. Okay, that kind of made sense. It flowed with everything that she was doing. But Hunty, when she went off in the church at the fucking cross, I was done. I said, oh, goddamn. Not y'all got this chick laid in front of the cross masturbating. I was done. I just fell out. I was like, oh my God, really? This what we doing? Yeah, she took herself all the way there. That was so wild to me. Like whoever wrote that scene, oh, you have a mind. Yes, that just took me out. It took me out.
Well, I'll tell you, I may talk about it right now, but let me mention this so that you can kind of low key think about it. I was gonna save the concept of death um for later as like one of the themes that we would talk about, but we're talking about the characters, and I think it's important for us to talk about how they died and how tied it was into karma, like karmic, if that's the word, um, of their deaths. So think about that. You may already have some thoughts, but I think it's more important for us to talk about it with the characters now than to like save it as something on the side. Um, for Issa Rae, it made perfect sense because she was already the bastardization of religion. every time we saw her on screen, given that she was a preacher's kid, she basically was the living embodiment of sacrilege because she didn't believe in the religion that she and her family were espousing. She was running in the opposite direction. It'd be different if she was like, on drugs and needed help. It was beyond that. She was on drugs and she was a drug dealer and she had a whole scam set up, having artists come in and she got them hooked on drugs. And I have to wonder if part of them pimping her family, I mean, pimping her as this big artist was because that was a way for people to donate to the church because um
Yeah, that's how
art
come her
fraud.
father went to jail or was under arrest or something for that. Yeah.
Right, because art fraud is like major fraud, right? It's a major way to defraud, you know, and to money launder. I learned that from Reborn Rich. Shout out. And so I mean I knew it beforehand, but Reborn Rich reminded me of it too. So I think there's this place where as a character, the only use that people had for her was like for her to be the fuck up because she was one of the top three in the gang because she had money, but she didn't really have any redeemable character. Even when they were all hang out, she was bullying High June every chance she could. Like the one redeemable factor I would give to her is that in some ways she was very honest when she dealt with the other folks in the gang. Like she was just irreverent. She didn't like kowtow to them at all. Now that may have been the drugs. I'm sure it was the drugs, but it was refreshing that sometimes when they were all together, she was like the voice of honesty. Because she was like, I don't care what you think, you a hoe. Like she just did not care. Um, but as far as her death, it was such poetic justice. Um, she died by the thing that she lived by, which was a needle. Um, and she was on display, like she had been on display before. Her family had put her on display. They hid her ugliness, but they put her on display otherwise. They used her. And so here she was yet again on display in a way that kind of tied in religion. Because at one point, I want to say her arms were up, like Jesus. I was like, y'all are really pushing. Like at one point, it was like they were pushing the religious symbolism with it. Or either she was in front of a cross and you could see the cross behind her and she was like devolving into like, an overdose, right? And I was like, dang, okay. So she lived and died by the same thing. What do you think?
I mean, I agree with that totally. I think that makes all the sense because that, you know, as you stated, was the person and the lifestyle she was leading, and it just, took itself there.
So we've kind of gone through all the bullies in the gang. We don't have a lot of other characters, but I think we can mention them as honorable mentions in a way. I don't have her on my list, but Dong Un's mom was a piece of work, if ever there was a piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it wasn't just that she was just like they say that she was an alcoholic. Like I didn't know if she was just like a lazy bitch. Like I didn't know what her mental issue was. She wasn't right. And that actress played her really well for crazy. Um, but she gets an honorable mention because she was just a good character for the time that she was on screen. She did what she was supposed to do, and she got her just desserts. Do you have any other characters who are honorable mentions?
Before we go on to honorable mentions, I'm gonna backtrack to Dolan's mom because that character for me, she was extremely interesting in a myriad of ways. From when we first met her, when Dongun was getting bought out in so many words by uh
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, no, not Sarah. What is her name? The
Jin's mom.
Yes, by her mom. And the reason I think I found that interesting was because, you could look at it as, yes, she's alcoholic, she's trying to get her fixed. But I think it was a little bit deeper than that. I kind of feel like that parent, because it appeared that Dong Un kind of lived by herself and fended for herself. Her mother was out doing the fuck she wanted to do, and she wasn't thinking twice about that girl. In that same vein, I feel like she could have cared less, or could care less about how things panned out for her. She was simply a tool for her to be able to use when she needed to use her to do whatever it is she wanted to do. So, in that sense, for her to go get this money was about, oh, her name is Park Ji Ah. Her
Mm.
name on the show was Mi Hee. But anyway, Park Jia's acting was stellar, yes, because she's another person who I'm like, oh, she deserves a supporting actress award because she did that damn thing playing the mom. But as a mother and as Mihi, I think her whole mission was like, I had you, because again, we didn't get her childhood backstory, but did she tell us she grew up with her grandmother? Did we hear that in there? Do you
I didn't hear
remember?
that. I don't remember hearing that. It
Okay.
was just like they quickly painted Dong Un as like a kid on her own.
Well, so the reason I was wondering was because, again, it never seemed as though her mother showed her any kind, and I mean, that was what I was going back to even as a child, but I might be confusing this with another drama. But even as a child, like, what we did see, her mother never seemed to show her any kind of love, care, or concern at any point. And so, even as she was growing up and we're doing the backtracks and seeing her in high school when she's, working this job, working that job, doing these things, doing those things. That's how come her and the landlady became friends, because the landlady said in so many words, everybody deserves somebody who loves them, somebody who's got their back. She didn't have that. Her mother never ever gave her that. And so, like, I don't know. I feel like in the way I'm perceiving this, the mom simply saw her as a cash cow. However, I could make some cash off of you, or however I could use you to get what I need, then I can be present. But aside from that, I ain't got nothing to say to you, and I don't really care about what happens to you. And so that's how come for me, her and that character. However, that it wound up, as long as she didn't kill her mother, because again, I think
Right.
that have just been over the top. As long as she didn't
Right.
kill her mother, however that wound up was going to be fine for me, because she literally showed her no love whatsoever. And so that's how come I think I would love to know about her infancy, from infancy to high school. How did she grow up? Did she have anybody? Somebody had to take care of her. Somebody had to change her diapers. Somebody had to feed her, because it got, somewhere until she was able to fend for herself totally. Someone had to do something. So was her mom the one doing it? And if so, like, I don't know, it was just the weirdest relationship, and I feel like mother-daughter relationships are interesting constructs to me, and theirs was weird. Theirs was, like, super weird to me, super weird, because
Yeah,
of the
no.
mother's lack of love. But go ahead.
No, no, no. I mean, it's true. I mean, sometimes it's like they lean into making the female lead as broke down as possible, including like a mom who shows absolutely no concern and no love for her. When you were talking, I was also thinking about, I was like, do we need to also talk about a theme of like mothers and daughters? Maybe in a different
In a
episode or
different
something.
episode, yeah.
Because it's just like an interesting thing. It's like my brain was just kind of going with that. Um, well, we are going to talk about motherhood, so yeah, it is coming. It is coming. I was like, let me marinate on this. Yeah.
I think
Um,
the only other, because I mean, there was really, that was just me really tripping off of the two of their relationship and how they got to that space. I think the only other relationship, or only other character whom I wanted to delve into would have been old boys. Oh gosh, the father of the sun base she had in college,
Girl.
because he was that Jung Moon, the high school teacher.
Yes.
Jung Moon. Oh, I don't know. It was that was that whole
Girl.
thing just was weird because once I found out it was old boy's dad and the fact that
Girl.
he turned on his father, I was like, oh
Girl.
my god. Like
That's what I'm saying. Maybe maybe when we talk about it, it's not motherhood, it's parenthood.
parenthood.
Because I did not see that coming. Um, that was some ratchet upon ratchet. That was some unnatural type mess. Like, dude, okay, if your father comes out to be like all kinds of messy, it was like he was like, I'm out for me, F you. And I didn't see that about his character at all,
But
that he would be that dude.
I think there was something else because okay, we had that he had done what he had done to Dong Un. However, was there something else going on with that man as well? Some other scandal he was involved in? Because it seemed as though the son was saying in so many words, let's just let you die with a good name. Let's not let your name get sullied because you done got caught up in this shit and this is something you keep doing. Like I couldn't tell, was this a
I thought he had been, if not a pedophile, I thought it was something like that.
okay, and that's what I'm getting at. So I think that was where he was going. Like, you already got this one situation happening, plus you've done this to Dong Un. Let's let you go out with your name not being killed. Because
Yeah, I don't even think Dong Un was like a blip for dude. I think
I
it
think
was
it was
almost
after
pure.
a while because he realized she was going to take it too far.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he
Right.
knew that
And
she
that's
was
how
gonna go
come he was,
report, and yeah,
yeah, that's how come he was willing to say, this is happening. You got this coming up. Nope, let's not let this go down because now you gonna fuck my
man,
shit up because now you making me look bad because I'm your child and I would rather not be the child of the pedophile slash child abuser. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna just let you and the flowers go on together and have a good one, Dad.
man, man. It was like in weird places we would get surprised with some pop up crap.
Yeah.
you know, and they were good and bad. In that case, it was bad. Where it was good was the landlord, because you come to find out in the final episodes that she and Dong Un saved each other. I was like, oh. And I think that she was part of the reason Dong Un could like loosen up a bit, because she even said there are people who are good, who, there are adults or folks who looked out for her that she didn't even know were looking out for her,
Mm-hmm.
including the landlord. Because the landlord was definitely beating the bad mama's ass. Like, get your ass out of here. Lied a couple of times to protect Dong Un. And then you find out, that she had lost a child and she was going to kill herself. And as a result, Dong Un being in a similar situation, they helped each other. I was like, so I have to give her an honorable mention because she was a pivotal character. She wasn't like part of the revenge squad, but she definitely like gave him a place to plot.
The character actress is
Yes,
Sun Suk.
yes.
Sun Suk.
And
So if anyone is looking, because you're right, there's no name for her character, but Song Suk played the role.
so I'm trying to see if there's anything else, any other characters you want to talk about before we end this episode.
No, I think we have like pretty much, like you said, went through the bully gang, went through those notable side characters that needed to be mentioned, and talked the good stuff. Like there's some other things, as you stated, we're going to come back and talk about parents and childhood relationships and a few other details because the show had so many layers, so many layers.
Right. Oh, let me super, super quick just speak on Yo Jun's mother, because she was a small role, but she was gangster. I just want to say she was gangster. When she's like finishing up her surgery and she looks at her son and she was like, I thought you were more like your daddy, but you're more like me. Go on and do that revenge thing you need to do. Just don't get caught. I was like, okay, bad bitch. Okay. You a quiet
somebody
bad bitch.
on TikTok did a reenactment, and man, when I tell you I fell out because of how she broke it down. Because yes, she did.
Right. If you have that, go on and send it to me because I was dying. I was like, I thought she was gonna be like, well, I'm scared for you. And she was like, do it. Just don't get caught. And then later on, when she's of a mindset to go find Dong Un and like stop her, I was like, because you love your child so much, you're like, I know you a crazy bitch, but he loves your ass. You better stay alive so that you can help my son. I was like, oh, this is so nice. You're gonna be your mother-in-law one day. It was nice. Anyway, I got nothing else. And you got nothing else?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for listening. Look out for the other episodes we're going to do about other aspects of the Glory.
Share any ideas or thoughts you had as well from watching Glory, because I see a lot of you guys have finished as well. So share your thoughts.
Oh, yes, definitely. If we're missing things or you want us to talk about some angle or other, let us know. We are Black Girl Soul. I am something else with
Song Ray.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Black Girl Soul. We enjoyed having you, and please subscribe, like, and follow our Facebook page, YouTube channel, Twitter page, Instagram page, and join our Facebook group. You can also find us on Patreon. Please look below for links. See you guys next week.